We have our next session coming up, which is moderated by Rami Al-Karmi. I can't see Rami though. Somebody find Rami. So this next session is called The Crowd Gets It, Disrupting Finance. And so we're going to be focusing on crowdfunding to a huge degree. And this is particularly interesting because it's one of the most disruptive things that we've seen in the world of financing ICT startups and projects. You want to call it crowdfunding, crowdfinancing, equity crowdfunding, crowd equity, crowdsource fundraising, all these different aspects that involve the crowd. That collective effort of individuals who network and pool their money, usually via the internet, to support efforts initiated by other people or organizations. So crowdfunding is being used in support of a wide variety of activities. We're talking about disaster relief, filmmaking, citizen journalism, fan support for artists, political campaigns. We've seen a lot of that. Startup company funding, free software development, developing inventions, the Kickstarters of the world, scientific research, and civic projects. So we want to look at how crowdfunding fits in with the current financial ecosystem and how it's disrupting it as well. We are looking for our moderator. Do we have our moderator? Let's bring our speakers up. So we have Vida Rizq, Chris Thomas, Ronald Cleverland, Ahmed Moore, Abdullah Absi, and Seema Najjar. Please. And our session moderator, Rami Al-Karmi, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Hello. Hi, hi, hi. For those of you who don't know Rami, he's a self-proclaimed proud geek and investor, and he's a widely recognized advisor in corporate venturing and strategy and corporate entrepreneurship. So I'm very, very pleased to hand over to him to moderate this session. Rami, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, thank you. Okay, so today we're supposed to talk about crowdfunding. Before we start, I'd like to quickly, can you hear me? Now? Okay. Before I start, I'd just like to quickly introduce my esteemed panelists. And I feel the sound. Can you guys hear me well? Is it okay? Okay. Hello? I'll do this. Okay. So before we start, I'll just quickly welcome our panelists and allow each of them basically to give us a quick background on what they do and how does crowdfunding come into the picture. Now, I'll start with Ahmed Moore.
Sure, would you like me to just explain? Or?
No, I just want you to quickly give a quick background on,
Sure.
on your company, what you do, and how does it relate to crowdfunding, please?
Terrific. So my co-founder, Saman, and I founded a company, US-based company, but this is our first market a year ago, called Liwa, liwwa.com, and it's peer-to-peer lending for small businesses. Thanks very much. It's peer-to-peer lending for small businesses. Is this on? Yes?
No, I don't think so.
It is on. It is not on. It is on. Okay, thank you. Peer-to-peer lending for small businesses. And the basic idea is just that if you need to borrow money, you can do it through a bank or you can do it through friends and family. You can also now borrow money through websites. And the way in which you do that is you subject yourself to a credit assessment process, you host a profile on a website, and then individual lenders can lend you that money. The way in which we've constructed our transaction ends up being Sharia compliant because we do it around a lease-to-own transaction structure, which we think is necessary for the region. So I think that's the quick summary. Would you?
My name is Ronald Cleverland. I'm the Vice Chairman of the European Crowdfunding Network, and that's the association for the crowdfunding industry in Europe. I'm also an independent consultant, advising the European Commission on crowdfunding, crowd investing, mostly, so more the investment part of crowdfunding. And I've been around in this market since 2008, when it started with NGOs, non-profit organizations raising funds, the Kickstarter type reward-based crowdfunding platforms. And later on, I supported organizations that launched debt-based or equity crowdfunding platforms. So that's my background.
I'm Seema Najjar, founder of eKeef.com. Keef means how in Arabic, and we do short how-to videos targeting women in the MENA region. We have more than 36 million video views, and so far we've grabbed all organically, and we've grabbed a huge attention. We took it to the next level by raising funds, and we did that through crowd investment. I'm going to speak about my experience with Eureka. Chris can speak more about Eureka.
Thank you. Hello there. Yeah, my name is Chris Thomas. I am the CEO and one of the founders of Eureka. Ultimately, I'm an entrepreneur that has, throughout my life, I've pretty much been paying my own salary for the last 10 years or so, and so therefore have set up various businesses, and every business I've set up needed access to cash, and I've raised money through my credit cards or loans from my mum, all the way through to VCs up to exit, and frankly was disappointed and frustrated with the total dysfunctional way that fundraising happens globally. So we set up Eureka to try and combat that. And ultimately, we're a crowd investment platform, so we're crowdfunding for equity, and we help entrepreneurs raise money. So they'll come on our platform, they'll go through our process to get on there, and then they will look to raise cash in exchange for equity in their business. Our job really is to hold the hand of the entrepreneur through the entire process, from getting them fit for funding and getting the business plans ready and looking all shiny. Also the campaign management during the 90 days in which they're live, and then also helping them after the money's been raised in terms of drafting of shareholders agreements and issuance of shares, etc., etc. So that's what we do. We're a crowd investment platform.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. I'm the founder of Zumal, a crowdfunding, Kickstarter-like crowdfunding platform. So the story of Zumal was, before Zumal, I started around 6 companies. They all failed of funding as a young entrepreneur. So I decided to start a website that inspires people in the Arab world, and especially the youth, to start their own projects without having any difficulty in terms of funding. Right now, we've been for a year and a half. We funded projects in around $600,000. We've received over 2,000 submissions on the platform. It's going really well. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. So before we start, I just need to understand how many from the crowd, from the audience, basically, with show of hands, how many is from a government entity? Okay, I'll need you to have a 10-minute break. Because originally we didn't want to bash how basically crowdfunding has a lot of potential. And we know now we don't want to discuss how hard it is for those represented here and others basically to set up a crowdfunding platform. It's very hard. We know there are Ponzi schemes out there, and we know there's anti-money laundering that needs to take place. But we see lots of potential in crowdfunding. And to start, we would like to just give yourselves a background on the different types of crowdfunding and how each representative here has a different model and a different feel towards what crowdfunding is.
I would like to say something real quick about the government. I think governments, for each of us, are partners in all of this. The idea that we're all targeting job growth, job creation, creativity, and Abdullah's case is also job growth. Well, that's something that aligns very much with the public policy agenda
Definitely.
here in Jordan and across the region.
My point is I've went through a huge amount of crowdfunding sessions where we end up discussing why isn't crowdfunding happening a bit faster. This session is not about that. It's basically about innovation and how crowdfunding can ignite and support innovation even further. And I would like to start with Abdullah Absi and then move across. Abdullah, you basically have an interesting crowdfunding platform that you created. You went through challenges, obviously, but now it's up and running. And there's no conflict of interest. I'm a partner somehow with, we do business together on his crowdfunding platform, but there's no equity, right? So tell us what's different about your model and how did you make it happen? And try to, I'll just throw a quick hint. Tell us, did you graduate? you actually dropped out of school to run Zumal, right?
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that.
So I dropped out of university to start Zumal because I believe the academic institutions in the region.
Let's not go.
This is not the topic today, but there's a long story behind it. In terms of Zumal, so the kind of projects that we support are more of the base of the pyramid model. Anyone who has a creative project, whether it's first creative as in films, theater, music, arts, or products, so someone who's doing a wearable technology kind of product, tech product, product design, and so on, and community initiatives, so someone who has an NGO and they want to launch a project. And the way it works is that, let's say I want $20,000 to do a bracelet that glows whenever I'm next to my best friend. So to raise $20,000, I would go on Zumal. I would tell everyone, if you come and support me with $20, whenever I manufacture this product, I will send it over to your home. Ideally, I will get 1,000 people, each one of them giving me $20, and then I make this project happen. This is kind of...
So you're our Kickstarter, somehow.
Yes, it's a very similar model to the Kickstarter model and Indiegogo, and even closer to...
Can you share a bit of your traction so that the audience can understand a bit more on where Zumal stands?
As mentioned in the beginning, we've funded now over around 50 projects, over $600,000. I think we do have a Kickstarter model, but the way we're approaching the market is very, very different. We're talking about the region that knows less about crowdfunding. They're not much aware about it. So we're more taking a position of enabling creativity in the region, especially we're working on a base of pyramid model. So our role is starting different programs. Maybe recently we started something called MENASpaces.org, especially specializing in making sure that every Arab city has a collaborative space where an entrepreneur who has a product could come and work at the space. Because we've seen many people, entrepreneurs, they don't have a support group, they don't have a place where they can come and work. So we started this part of Zumal in an ambition that someday these spaces will be able to attract products, and then we are able to support these products through crowdfunding. This is one very small example. We're working with many corporates, including Zen Jordan, Hivos, and big corporates around the region to kickstart creativity, and not just doing crowdfunding.
Great. I'll move to Chris. Now, again, I have to mention this. I have a conflict of interest with everyone on stage. So I used Eureka. I invested in companies using Eureka. It's super interesting, especially how let me call it the evolution or maturity of the model. So the last transaction I managed to pay through a credit card. So tell us a bit more on the traction. I've noticed you guys have some very interesting traction specifically in the region and specifically in Jordan. So just give us an idea, and what's different between your model? It's an equity model. So just give us the difference between your model versus Zumal's model, please.
Okay. Yeah. So we, as I said, we're a crowd investment platform. So we help entrepreneurs effectively sell equity in their business in exchange for money. So our customers are both the entrepreneur that's looking really for growth or scale money. Maybe just after they've got friends and family seed money, then they're looking for their first proper round, maybe $100,000, $500,000 of fundraise. And so they come to Eureka, they apply, they are given a relationship manager who they hand through the process. So we get them, because we're dealing with equity, it's a pretty heavy model. There's a lot of legality around it, there's a lot of AML, anti-money laundering and fraud prevention, and lots of stuff that we need to do to make sure that the business is fit for funding. And we're creating this, if you like, this stable and legal environment for an entrepreneur to meet an investor. we're a funding platform. Ultimately, we're giving you the opportunity as an entrepreneur or as an investor to meet the other side, but really we end up being more like a business coach, because we help businesses get ready for that, get them fit for funding, get their business plans ready, the financials ready. We give them then a campaign book, what to do on day 1, day 15, day 30 of your campaign, what to do when you get to 20% funded, 50% funded, 80% funded. We provide email templates and social media tools for the entrepreneur to get out there and spread that message far and wide and leverage their existing network and try and get them to come to the platform and invest. And then once the money's been raised, we then, again, hold the hand of the entrepreneur through the process to ensure that the shareholders' agreements have been written in a way that reflects the initial offer, all the way through to issuance of shares. We act, if you like, as legal and financial escrow to this whole process. So an investor will deposit money into our escrow account, so we're holding on to the cash. Once it's been cleared, it then goes onto their Eureka account, and they can then commit that investment to one or many funding proposals on the platform. We hold on to the cash until shares have been issued, and then we release the money to the entrepreneur. We're a Middle Eastern platform. We're focused on mainly the UAE and Jordan. We're also in various other markets, but to be honest, our best market is Jordan. It's a great market for us. We work with incubators and accelerators in the region to support their businesses. But so that's from an entrepreneurial perspective. But also, my other client is the investor. We are providing an opportunity for investors that are frankly bored with the returns on their money in the bank or the stock market returns to find new opportunities to deploy their capital in ways that they can get more value out of it, more than merely just a dollar return. They can feel emotionally connected to a business that they really believe in.
Chris, are they silent investors, or do they? What type of relation do I have between me as an investor and the startup?
Okay, well, so our platform, crowd investing as a term, it conjures up ideas that you're going to have 1,000 investors all putting in like $100 each to get this money. But really, the crowd can be 5 large angels as well as it could be 50, relatively small investors. So we have on our platform registered members that invest anything from $100 to, I think our highest investment is about $85,000. The average is about $5,000. So investors on average invest about $5,000. We have VCs that have signed up to invest. We have various angel networks within the region that are looking for more deals. And what they like about Eureka is they can compare like for like. You come onto my platform right now, you can see some great Jordanian businesses. You were mentioning Kodaji, who's an online e-commerce platform for groceries here in the region.
Or you can just look to your right and mention Seema.
And Seema, indeed. But Kodaji is still live, right? And we'll get onto it. But so for Kodaji, for example, is a business that is invested in by Samir Tukan and the owners of Souk.com. I, as an investor, would never normally get access to these type of deals. If I'm not in the know and I haven't got the opportunity to have relationships with those angel investors, I would never know these deals existed. So it's giving an opportunity for the common man and woman to do more with their money than merely stick it in a bank and get paid 0% interest. Did that answer your question? And Seema, I'll let Seema talk about herself, but she's also a fantastic entrepreneur that raised her money.
So let's move on to Seema. Seema, and you gave us a quick background. I know you have multiple businesses before eCafe. And so you're basically an experienced fundraiser. Let me just throw this as a general, without any stereotyping, but you've done your share of fundraising, yet you went through the crowdfunding journey. So tell us a bit more on your experience. Was it hard? Was it easy? What are let me just rephrase it as the tips and tricks for a startup to utilize a crowdfunding platform, or if you have some lessons learned that you can share or something like that.
It was a very good experience for me personally. eCafe has been operating for 2 years, and they've approached me actually a year ago before I actually got on board with them. But I was afraid to go on, it's a new platform, like what are they doing, how would it work? Is it going to work or not? So I was hesitant at first, and I had potential investors at that time as well. So
did you feel it was risky that if you went with a campaign and it basically didn't
Yes, it was.
You didn't achieve the goal.
So that was my biggest fear. Like, what if I go and our culture, like, you know, she's raising money, and then suddenly I didn't raise enough money. And then I suddenly thought about it. They reconnected with me again, and I was like, what would I have to lose? Investors, they're already sitting. And
What's the worst that can happen?
what the worst can happen? A year ago, same investors, I'm still talking to them. I'm still, you know, waiting for their promises. And I thought, why not? There's a lot of people who really love eKeef and they want to be on board, but they cannot just come and put one chunk of big amount of money. So, and we have really good exposure at eKeef. We leveraged from that through Eureka. It was really easy because once you have a platform with deadlines and with discounts, we also have discounts for some investors. Whoever comes first can actually get a discount. And everything is just there for the investors to see. It was just an easy way to communicate. And also, I did all of my work on my laptop. So I didn't have to go and meet them and see one by one. So I met like 1,000 people, actually 1,800 online. We spread the news, we're raising money, anyone is interested, and we just started emailing them, replying to their questions or comments or anything they need, all on the same platform. So it actually takes time, but just at the same place. You're at your office working on it. So
you didn't meet the investors, yet there was interaction. Some of them asked you questions and you had to respond before.
Of course,
okay.
Of course, because although the business plan is there, but sometimes they just don't want to flip all, 30 pages of business plan. There's like, can you tell us about your competition? Yeah, that's why I do videos. So we answer them. We see where they want to go with this, or they want to see our future, and they helped us also. Some of them actually helped us to expand our business or have new connections. So
how much did you raise?
We raised 80,000.
And how many investors?
Around 35, 36.
35. You guys, I think this requires an applause, right? How long did it take you to complete the journey?
So the deadline is 3 months. You have 3 months. We did it in a month and a half, I think. We closed, and we didn't want to go with more. We did 1 or 2 weeks overfunded mode, but then we stopped it.
And how long since you decided to go online till live?
So that's the thing. We had an event, and we thought it was really good if we can announce it in the event while we present on stage, that they can also invest in us through this platform. So we had exactly 7 to 8 days to do it. So we did it, all the material, because I already have all the material ready. It's not really that hard, and plus the support that we got from Eureka, it was magnificent. Really, it was really good that they scanned the business plan. I had my business plan, my papers, everything is ready. They scanned everything, gave us feedback and comments in 2 days. They're very fast and they're very good people to talk to.
The advertising space is going less and less.
So yeah.
So it was 7, 8 days.
Yes.
If you have your stuff ready, you can go live.
Yes.
In 7 to 8 days, and you basically, the trick is making use of this as a campaign. So it's a marketing, basically a marketing-driven model.
We already market ourselves as entrepreneurs. We already go to conferences and pitch, and always out there to pitch our products. But this is a better way to pitch. It's online. It's online. Okay. It's faster.
I'll move now to Ahmed. I'll get back to you. But if you can hand him the mic. And I want you to explain a bit more on your model, because it goes under crowdfunding to an extent, but it's peer-to-peer lending, right?
That's right.
And there's Sharia compliance here, and you have a very interesting model. I think you need to zoom in for people to get to understand it a bit more.
Sure. I think the best way to start is probably by defining the problem, which is that small businesses, not only here in this region, but around the world, don't have access to bank capital. Or if they do, it's very onerous, the process by which a small business would go and attain that bank capital. And so our target, our competitors, really are banks. The idea is just that individuals can borrow, well, small businesses can borrow money from individuals within their communities more inexpensively than they can borrow the same money from a bank. And the reason the money can cost less to borrow is because individuals who lend money don't have the same overhead costs that banks do. The way in which my co-founder and I decided to tackle this region and get to the heart of the problem in this region is through a lease-to-own transaction structure. And I'll give you an example. We had a borrower who needed about $10,000 of production equipment, cameras and things, for his design and photo studio. Over the course of 2 campaigns, I think it ended up being about 22 individuals lent the $10,000 to him to go out and buy the camera equipment, and then we basically marked up the price of the equipment, and he purchased that equipment on an installment basis from us over time.
But you actually acquire the assets yourself as a team?
Yeah, so procurement is a part of our process, and frankly, it is one of the challenges of operating in a place like Jordan. Procurement tends to be easier if you're buying large assets where you can just wire money to a merchant or purchase things online. And we think that ultimately scalability or a scalable procurement process will require an online component. And that's one of the reasons that we think our timing in the region is also good. The growth of e-commerce in general has enabled us to conduct procurements, say camera equipment. We can buy that online. But yeah, it is a part of our process.
So, and at the end, once the assets are bought and provided, the lender has a direct relation, or is it again through
No,
you?
it's all conducted through the website. So the borrower makes monthly payments, just repays the loan basically, and the benefits accrue to the investors. So if, say it's a 10% difference between the retail and lease price of the asset, 10% profit rate, most of that goes to the lender through the website, and we take 2% of every incoming payment. So we align our incentives with those investors. What's very exciting from an investor point of view, I mean, I love Chris's model and the equity model, and the potential for upside there is enormous. Our investors, probably some of the same people, but they're looking for a fixed income investment vehicle, something that corresponds to investing in bonds, whereas equity investment is an equity investment. It's more like stock.
Yeah.
And so you know that you've lent somebody money, you have a year-long term, this is how much they're going to pay every month, and then at the end of that period, your relationship is terminated. So it's a different investment vehicle also, and that's one of our goals, is to build a new investment class across the region.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit more on your traction? Is it, how long have you been live?
Yeah, so we started the company when I was still in grad school at Harvard, almost 2 years ago, incorporated in the US a year and a half ago, and then was invited out to the region by a big investor here last year, this month. So we've been in the marketplace for a year, spent a lot of time just setting up our basic processes. We're very excited to have central bank approval to operate here now, which was what I was saying earlier about being, partnering with local banks, and we've done 16 transactions.
Good.
So we've only been able to fund, or only have funded 1% or fewer than 1% of our total loan application volume. And a big part of that is the challenge around building a two-sided marketplace, but we're getting there.
Okay, I'll move now to Ronald, and basically we have a crowdfunding authority on stage. So this guy is an author. He evangelized crowdfunding. He's actually a European Commission advisor on crowd investing. You authored some stuff. Tell us a bit more on how long have you been evangelizing the topic? What's your perspective? What have you seen on stage in terms of different flavors, let's say, of crowdfunding? Give us a few words of wisdom, being an authority on the topic.
I've been in this market since 2008. And that time, crowdfunding wasn't known at all. So you didn't hear anything about the term of crowdfunding. It was just non-profit organizations that wanted to do something else than raising funds for their organization. They wanted to raise funds for a specific project. So that was really the start in Europe, mainland Europe, with crowdfunding. And later on, we saw more financial models starting. And it started with reward-based crowdfunding, but also debt-based crowdfunding, equity-based crowdfunding, and all different types of models, different models that revenue-sharing models that you can use. And that's the power of crowdfunding, is that you are not stick to the traditional ways of raising money. You can think out of the box, be creative, be disruptive, and think about whole other models to raise funds for specific projects. And what I have heard here on stage and also today when I spoke to other people is that this is quite a young market. We have 1 year, 1.5 years of crowdfunding platforms here. But don't forget that also in Europe and also in the US, this market is also really young. 5 years ago, we didn't have anything related to crowdfunding in Europe, especially not debt-based crowdfunding or equity-based crowdfunding. Equity-based crowdfunding is even not legal in the US at this moment, only for accredited investors, and that's not really crowdfunding. So I think there's a huge opportunity in the whole in the region here and in other regions, and we are just at the start of this new way of financing. And just like you said, banks are your biggest competitors, and slowly now I notice that in Europe, banks are noticing it. They notice that peer-to-peer platforms are the new banks, because people need banking, but not everybody needs a bank. Because these new platforms are much more efficient and can create much better deals for the entrepreneurs, for the investors, because they don't have all the overhead costs of traditional banks. So I think there is a huge opportunity, and especially when we work together with governments, we work together with business angel networks, we work together with other investment organizations, you'll see that there are a lot of possibilities for entrepreneurs for raising money in different ways. And as an entrepreneur, to know what kind of money you want to raise, do you go for a reward-based platform, equity, or debt-based, or peer-to-peer lending? You should think about your investor. What is the reason that investor wants to invest in you? And how I normally explain it is about the crowdfunding ROI. And it's not the traditional return on investment, because the crowdfunding investor wants to be involved, wants to have a role, direct or indirect, in the company he is investing in. So it is a return on involvement. And that return, that can be either a social return, a material return, or a financial return. And if you know what your investor or your investor group is interested in, what type of return he wants to get, if you want to have a social return, you can focus on donation-based crowdfunding. If you want to have a material return, you want to have the watch being created, and you have 99 other people funding that. You want to have a material return, then focus on pre-sales, look into the reward-based model. And if you look into investors, if you want to find investors that want to have a financial return, go check out if this is an equity-based crowdfunding platform or use peer-to-peer lending. And that's basically what you said. It really depends on the risk of the investment. If it is a low-risk investment in products, most investors go to debt-based financing. If it's a higher risk but a promising startup or growing company, equity crowdfunding is really interesting because it has a huge potential for an upside, and it gives opportunities to co-invest with other investors and traditional investors. Does that answer your question?
I hope so. Let's see, maybe the crowd has more questions in a bit. We're a crowdfunding, but let's go through the third question and then move it off to the audience. I basically spend lots of time working with startups and working with ecosystem players and what have you. And to me, looking into crowdfunding was mind-blowing. With the different models, because it has the ability basically to disrupt both the crowd involvement and the funding side. and bring in a new element that maybe can accelerate and ignite ecosystem movement much faster. The question I would like to, again, you still have the mic, so I'll keep it with you and then move it across. You basically have you founded a technology company that builds crowdfunding infrastructure. You also co-founded different layers. If we want to create, if we want to just make the MENA region a mecca for crowdfunding, if we basically, we see this as an opportunity, and I'm not sure, do we create more crowdfunding platforms, or do we enlarge the ability and appetite of crowdfunding, the current crowdfunding, just being involved in all of those layers? Can you tell us, just from the top of your head, what can we do basically to harness this opportunity? How can this region lead on crowdfunding?
Yeah, my mantra here is always education. It's all about education for the investors and for the entrepreneurs. They really need to know what crowdfunding is, how it works. That's the reason I speak at these conferences, try to reach out to accelerators, try to reach out to universities, but also directly to entrepreneurs. This is a huge opportunity. This is something you can use to not only fund your business, because funding is only one part of crowdfunding. It's also about marketing. We had a great example here already, that it is a good tool to market your product and also do some market research. So that education element is really important. So make sure that the knowledge about crowdfunding is shared amongst as much people as possible.
Do you feel it's education plus a mindset change? Is there a mindset that has to shift as well?
Yes, it is mindset shifting is one part of it indeed. You have the technical part of how does it work, how do you do it, but it's also a mind shift. And one reason, one way to do it is make sure you have showcases and have those cases.
So success stories drive that.
Success stories, share them everywhere as much as possible. That's really important, and that really helps, because what I saw in Europe in several areas, when you have a specific case in a specific area, a specific niche, it took a while before the first one started. But when the first one has a success, then the next month 10 others will start, because they see, oh, I can also use this.
Abdullah, we had the chat earlier on, so you get the mic now. I also, I basically advise Zain on the Zain Innovation Campus and our corporate entrepreneurship responsibility. And the minute you walked in to convince us to work together, you used this message. You said, we want this model to disrupt the whole ecosystem, and I want to grow it. So what did you have in mind? Tell us a bit more. How can we move on crowdfunding? And do you really see this, forget Zumal, do you really see this as a platform, do you really believe in this as a platform to disrupt innovation as you sell it?
Yeah. Of course, it's going to be a bit different. Crowdfunding is not just about the mainstream kind of funding for people. Like, it has many advantages for the entrepreneurs eventually. But the way we see it as Zumal, it's more of a movement. It's an infrastructure project. For like our mission statement for Zumal is to bring back Arab creativity, and we see that crowdfunding is one of the main ways to bring that, to make this happen. If we were able to kind of equalize the capital in the Arab world, you have Gulf countries rich in capital and people who are wealthy, and at the same time you have the Levant area in North Africa who have a lot of projects, a lot of creativity, but at the same time they don't have the capital. So one way would be crowdfunding, where you get this capital, get it online, get it to support projects, and get people to discover this creativity that they weren't able to see it before. On Zumal, the number one country that we have now in funding is the US. And most people in the US are actually Arab expats who want to give back to their countries.
So the diaspora is an interesting angle to bring into the crowdfunding.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if someone is now, let's say, a Lebanese or a Jordanian who's living in the US and they want to give back what channels do they have? They don't. They have to go on Google, search for some organizations that they may be interested in, then they have to call them, see what kind, the amount they have to transfer and send a wire transfer. It has to be at least $1,000. Now when they go to Zuma, they can discover creativity in all the region, find the project that they're interested in and fund as low as $1 from the convenience of their home. So looking at this model, it's super interesting for the diaspora to be involved. As I said in the beginning, it's an infrastructure project, it's a movement to really support Arab creativity. It has gone for a while, but getting capital and supporting projects, funding has been an elementary difficulty and problem for entrepreneurs in the region, which is sorted out outside. Like in the West, you can see a lot of spending from the government on research and development, from universities who are supporting creativity and innovation. We don't have this in the Arab world. And now through crowdfunding, it's now in the control of the people. You don't need to wait for anyone. People are supporting each other.
Chris, you were a bit shy on telling us about how much traction you have in Jordan. And I basically did the numbers. I know there are 7 companies who raised around $800,000 in Jordan alone, just during the past year. As an entrepreneur, you basically focused your attention to an extent on this region. Am I correct?
Correct, yeah.
So tell us, why did you do that? And do you really see the opportunity in this region? Yani, you're basically based in London. Why didn't you focus on Europe? Why didn't you look elsewhere? What's different about this region? And why would MENA basically, and specifically Jordan as the hub of MENA in innovation, why would this be an opportunity for crowdfunding, and how can it help?
Okay. I was actually in Brazil at the time, Brazil before Dubai. I mean, there were various reasons why we set it up here in the Middle East, and we certainly are in the Middle East. My headquarters are in Dubai. We have a sales office in Lebanon, and my development team are in Gaza. So we have 17 members of the team, all here in the Middle East. My business partner is Jordanian, Sam. So he's obviously been in this region for many, many years. I was here years ago in my past life, and I was an investment banker, was based here in the Middle East. And the reason we did it here is firstly, when we started in crowd investing, which was 3 years ago, we started setting this up 3 years ago, and it took us 2 years to get to the point of launch, because it's very heavy technically, but it's also very, very heavy legally. There's a lot of stuff you need to fix from a legal perspective. And there's a lot of government agencies and interested parties that you have to persuade that this is a good thing. And it's relatively easy to get, frankly, it's relatively easy to get in touch with decision makers here in the Middle East. In Dubai, with a couple of calls, I can meet the regulators, right? I can do that in the UK. I can get the law changed in the UK, whereas in Lebanon, we wrote one of the first crowdfunding laws globally. It's an area that we were able to get the traction that we needed to change and transform the environment to suit or provide the conditions for crowdfunding and crowd investing to emerge. The reason we've stayed here is because we really see that the Middle East is at an inflection point. There is a lot, there's an immensely powerful entrepreneurial movement here in the Middle East, certainly in markets like Jordan. Less so in Dubai. If you're in Dubai, you've got a job, because to live in Dubai, you must have a visa. You only get a visa if you've got a job. So there's less risk appetite for entrepreneurs, because frankly, if their business doesn't do very well, they get kicked out of the country. So it's less so in Dubai. Hello? Yeah, less so in Dubai than in places like Jordan. But it's really an inflection point. There is immense and very powerful entrepreneurial movement here. Over the last few years, there have been dramatic changes to the support and the community of support that's provided to entrepreneurs through accelerators, incubators, various initiatives that we've discussed at length. And so it's a very interesting, exciting place to be helping to facilitate that. And so therefore it's a market that we know and love, and that we're looking to stay for a long time.
Cool. Ahmed, we need to get you a mic. You basically relocated,
Yeah.
with an interest to have a base in the region. Tell us why, and you really feel what can be done beyond what you guys are doing to harness this model basically in
Sure.
the region?
Well, I first relocated to the U.S. I was a journalist here for a few years first. Not in Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt.
You relocated back. So.
Right, and I just went for grad school. But my co-founder and I are both Palestinian, and we wanted to be back in the region. And we think that the potential here is enormous. And I think there's opportunity everywhere. There's a lot of stuff we could have done in the U.S. and built in the U.S., and that would have been fine. Sam is a programmer who worked at a big company called Etsy. But ultimately, we were interested in having impact, and we think that we can have an impact here. And it's the kind of impact, I'll be perfectly honest, we started thinking about this company in the wake of Tunisia, Egypt, a lot of the activity that was happening in the region, and it was creative stuff, and ultimately we do want to give back here. I think you can have an impact in this region.
Seema, you basically created more than one startup.
Yeah.
And went through different cycles, the fundraising, the good, bad, and ugly of having a startup. And to an extent, you do have some, you do work on evangelizing. You won this Cartier Award, and you basically speak a lot about women empowerment and leadership, and basically trying to advocate more startups, women-led startups, and what have you. Give us some insights. Tell us a bit more on the award and what happened there, and how would you basically advise other startups on utilizing crowdfunding? Would you do it again? And how would you go about it if you get the chance to do it again, or if you would like, to do it again?
Yes, definitely I'll do it again. The women empowerment actually...
With Eureka?
With Eureka. Unless it was a creative project, I would do it with Zumal as well.
Very diplomatic.
You should have the numbers. There's 7 companies from Jordan. How many were led by women from Jordan?
Yeah.
It was mainly women. I think we, as women, found it easier for us to go on a platform like Eureka. I don't have the numbers, but I'm sure there's mainly women on that platform now.
It's about 50-50, but you have a much larger success rate. Yeah, so 7 out of 13.
7 out of 13 success rates, that's great actually. Yeah, and actually I would do it again. You know why? Because our culture it helps it helps us.
It's aligned with the color.
It's aligned because at first it was something like taboo, like what? Someone will give us money? How? Like what's happening? But I've noticed on Eureka, especially, almost 40 to 50% of my investment, it was from people who already, it's a reinvestment, who invested already in companies. So it's not their first time. And 30% almost from people who already joined a year ago, but still didn't take the move to invest, and they saw that they can invest, and they like this project, they just like hesitant, and now they're investing, and I'm sure they want to reinvest again, and some of them actually reinvested at the same week again in my company as well. So it was really good, interesting to see, and 20% were like almost new people that I got from my network as well. So it's the culture that once you, it's just a small line, once you cross the line, you're hooked. You're actually hooked as an investor or as an entrepreneur. So I would definitely prefer this way because it's really just, I like to be more transparent with the investors. We kind of feel that Arabs, we have something hidden all the time. This is something that we do.
Stereotyping.
Yeah, so, no, just like, you know, like, did you give him a better deal? Am I getting a better deal? Who's getting a better deal? So this is a way like, okay, here's the deal. Everyone's getting the same deal. If you want to get on board first, you get this deal. Everyone knows about it. So I like this transparency, and I like this just one place to set everything up.
So, Absi, okay, go ahead. We'll come back to you, Ron. Go ahead.
Okay, just to add something on the disrupting aspect of crowdfunding, I want to ask a question to the crowd. Who smokes a shisha? Argile.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
If you imagine if someone puts the price of a shisha per month, which ranges between $5 to $15 between Arab countries, if you just put the price of a shisha $5 a month to support Arab creativity, we'd probably be the most genius people on earth as this nation. This is how crowdfunding could be disruptive.
This is your next campaign on Zumal.
Yes.
Okay, so Ronald.
Rami, I want to jump in with a question. I'm sitting over here and I'm hiding over here. No, but yeah, just pushing that idea, and just in the last 5 minutes here, but pushing this idea of disruption. And I'm thinking, is this going to disrupt, and Chris could probably speak to this, but is this going to disrupt the way we, is the conventional IPO going to go away? Is the rights issue or the conventional bank loan, and like we were saying, everybody needs banking services, but not everybody necessarily needs a bank. Any bankers here are probably thinking, oh no. But, and then Seema brought up the point about reinvesting. And makes you think, eventually you could I should trademark this, but maybe you're going to have this situation where you're going to have like crowd managed portfolios, shall we say, or imagine bringing this bulk amount of money and saying, right, let's invest this into a bunch of sectors and a bunch of segments, and through a bunch of crowd-funded or crowd-invested startups or opportunities. I mean, it opens up some really interesting avenues for what's going to happen in the way we fund companies going forward. But just thought I'd throw that out there.
I mean, I think that's exactly right. I don't know if things are going away is the way that, it's not the way that I think of it necessarily. I think there are stable needs that exist, that have existed, whether in access to loan capital is one of them. And so the question that's posed to each of us is, how do we serve those needs in a more efficient, more effective, broader way? One of the points that was made in an earlier discussion is that when Uber and Lyft entered the taxi market effectively, they expanded the market. It was good for everybody. They created new demand. And so if we can serve stable, existing, enduring needs that have been around forever, do we grow the marketplace? Do we make it better for everybody? And I think that's probably the proposition that we're confronted with.
Perhaps not in the banking sector, but if you look at everyone here in the crowd, we're all crowdfunders in the end. Because by the end of the year, we support a government by paying something called taxes. This is crowdfunding in the end. But what's disrupting in crowdfunding, as we're doing it today in this panel, is it's online, it's transparent, you see exactly what's the project that you're funding. And you see the impact from something as small as $1.
So it's transparency again, the power of the crowd. How can you put in a marketing perspective around it, and unlocking the potential of funds and the crowds available with the funds. With that, I just want to hear a closing statement from each of you esteemed panelists. Let's start with Abdullah. Just quick final thought on the Mecca being here, the Mecca of crowdfunding being in the region, and
I think I've talked a lot tonight, but
no, just one sentence.
Yeah. I mean, since especially the Arab world is known as somewhat a nation of giving, because we give a lot to charities and so on. Crowdfunding could not just be similar to maybe the US as it's applied now. It can be much bigger and could be example to all the world in how we're doing crowdfunding. This is our ambition.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, to put this into context, to be clear, the Middle East is pioneering a lot of the crowdfunding space. There's a lot going on here, and it's going on because of a need, because there is an immense need for deployment of capital. There is a lot of capital here, and there's a lot of people that need that capital, but often the bridges are broken, and that's what really crowdfunding, all of its various guises, provides for.
Seema?
From my experience in crowdfunding, it was just a great experience. It gave eKeef the opportunity to shine now and expand more in the region. And this is what we need. Eventually, we're doing, I'm sure you're doing this also for for the projects to expand and have more work opportunities for everyone, and just get some companies out there.
Ronald?
Just one sentence. Think about crowdfunding is not a financial campaign, but think about crowdfunding as being a marketing campaign, what helps you also for raising funds. And if you think about that when you're starting thinking about crowdfunding, it makes much more sense, and you make much more, you get much more out of it.
Yes. Ahmed?
I guess more broadly, I think crowdfunding, crowdlending is fundamentally participatory, and it's a great way for us to each grapple with the challenges in the region and solve them together, which I think is the best way for all of us forward.
Cool. So I would like you to please help me welcome and thank the esteemed panelists, Ahmed Absi from Zumal, Abdallah Absi, sorry, from Zumal, Ahmed from Liwa, Ronald, Seema from eCafe, and Chris from Eureka. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed our panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think no better a crowd to speak about crowdfunding. Thank you, gentlemen.